Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the newest installment of AMC Versus, the show where we take a topic, split it up into two possibilities, and then we decide which one shall prevail. But really, ultimately, it's up to you guys because you guys vote on which side should win. I'm going to let you know right now that last week's topic here on Versus was which was the better Ian McKellen character, Gandalf or Magneto? And despite having an early lead, Magneto lost to Gandalf. You guys voted 54% to 46% in favor of Gandalf winning, so Gandalf was voted by you guys as being the best Ian McKellen character. And today we have a very similar topic. We are debating and discussing today who is the best Arnold Schwarzenegger character, Conan or the Terminator? Clearly his two most iconic characters. And here to discuss and debate this issue with me, first of all, sitting to my left is Mr. John Schnepp.
Hey, can't wait to start talking about the two best Schwarzenegger characters he's ever played. Figure it out.
And sitting to my right, first of all, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach.
Hey guys, lovely to be here. This is my first Versus in the new studio.
That's right, yes.
Boom.
And sitting to her right is, of course, Mr. Dennis Zen.
I'm glad to see Gandalf won because me and Miri both voted for Gandalf and gave compelling arguments in that regard.
Yeah, I think Schnepp and I dropped the ball debating for Magneto.
Magneto.
I always say it's okay for you to be wrong. I'm not mad at you, so I'm not mad at anybody.
All right, well, as I said, today's topic is similar to last week's. We're talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and this is a topic I got on Twitter and asked you guys, what kind of Versus topics do you like? And a lot of you guys said Conan or Terminator, so that's what we're doing today. We're going to discuss these guys. So, Dennis, we're going to start with you since you kind of won last week. Give you the privilege of starting
The
today.
official winner, so
If you had to make the argument for Conan being the better of the two characters, of Arnold Schwarzenegger's, what would you say?
I would say he enjoys life more because he's an actual person, unlike the robot of the Terminator. He punched a camel, the same camel twice.
I love that scene.
He bit off and killed a vulture while he was being crucified on the tree. And he also punched a horse.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, he sleeps with women, he enjoys his life, he has some great lines in it. So yeah, I think overall Conan just is just a more fun character.
Amy Rose?
You just nailed a lot of animal cruelty in that 30 seconds, so I'm out. Yeah, I think that you nailed the enjoy life factor really well because he's just parading around town doing whatever the hell he wants, drinking goblets of beer, and just like the guttural talk that we're so good at that will pop out, I'm sure, in this argument a little bit. Here, now! Been working on it for you. But yeah, I mean, he's an iconic character, and, you know, the way that Arnold conveys his emotion and drags out his lines pretty much became immortalized the second he stepped into this role. And then it's worked in everything. I mean, True Lies, all the other serious roles he's done as well. But in this, it really just became this whole other kind of Shakespearean level of art because of the way he speaks. So yeah, I thought it was really fun, obviously, and iconic.
I don't know that I'd say he has a more fun life. I mean, his parents were murdered when he was a child, grew up in a life of slavery, on the yoke, pushing that damn thing around in circles
it builds
for
character.
20 years. And then, has the woman he loves taken from him, and just a lot of bad stuff going on.
It's a life of luxury. What are you talking about?
But you're right. No other film, like Schwarzenegger has been known in his career for dropping one-liners. He's probably the best there's ever been in the business of getting quippy, fun one-liners. And we were looking it up and stuff, but the best of all time. The slave master asks Arnold, what is best in life? And he pretty much sums up what every man wishes since birth they could find a context in which they could say themselves. To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of their women. That, to me, that sums up the character of Conan, right? Just the coolest. Now, it's not a coincidence that I think it's like over a half hour into the film before we hear Arnold say his first line. I mean, today Arnold is not a great thespian. Let's not, as much as we love Arnold, let's not pretend. And back then, I mean, he really wasn't an actor per se. So they had him speak very little, and when he did speak, he said these amazing lines in this really broken Austrian accent that became iconic, you know, to us. I mean, the battles that he would have, it was so Mako. I mean, he played his character really great too, off of his surrounding cast, which is often what makes or breaks a character, right? So you had Mako, you had his thief. What was the thief's name again? You looked it up.
I forgot.
Yeah, it was some. But he played off, and even his love interest. How can you have a compelling love interest in a movie when your main guy doesn't even speak? I don't know, but they found a way to do it because he's Conan. He's such a cool character. Best one-liners in Arnold's career, in my belief, and that's why I would make the argument for Conan. What about you?
Yeah, Conan, the last of the Sumerians.
Right.
An amazing role for Arnold Schwarzenegger to begin his film career with. Yeah, they saved a lot of his lines. And I remember seeing it, and I didn't even understand what he was saying. It was like, the guys and let me take, let me take. I was like, I had to look that up later. I didn't know what he said. Something about the women, things with lamentables, lamicrants. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, the Riddle of Steel, Crom, all the things that.
Crom.
If you were a fan of Conan the Barbarian, if you read those paperbacks, like I read those paperbacks because they had the incredible Frank Frazetta covers on them. Then I read the comic books, vice versa, out of order. But I was waiting for this Conan movie as a little kid. Like, I couldn't wait to see him fight those white apes, which it didn't happen. It happened in John Carter much later.
Right?
But, and it wasn't as good as Conan fighting white apes. But anyway, I love Conan the Barbarian. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger as Conan the Barbarian. I can't say that I love Conan the Destroyer. I can say that.
I don't know that many people can.
Yeah, I know. It's one of the disappointing. It's like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. You have a good film, and then you have a sequel. So Conan the Barbarian, for me, though, really works. And one of the reasons it really works is John Milius. He wrote and directed, with Oliver Stone as one of the screenwriters for the original Conan the Barbarian. It's an incredible journey. It's one of the best sword and sorcery films ever made, I think.
And composed by?
Basil Poledouris.
Like one of the great scores.
Yeah. That's pretty bad. But if you guys just look it up, Google it, Spotify it, something, listen to that original Basil Poledouris theme song. That kind of goes with this version of Conan. I can't separate them. Arnold is forever bonded to this musical theme song.
Oh, yeah.
And his like, the riddle of steel, fire and ice. He's finding out what the riddle of steel is. You know, Conan the Barbarian forever.
And then there's, I really like too, because he's often talking about Crom, and you know, some guy's talking about his god is the god of wind. Crom laughs at your god. But also, like the going into the climax of the film when he's about to have his big showdown with the villains, and he's praying to Crom, and he's praying that Crom will help him win, and then he ends his prayer with, "And if you will not help me, to hell with you."
Yep.
That was pretty good, John. That was pretty good.
That was a great moment.
I want more.
Okay, so let's talk then a little bit about this other iconic character of his, Terminator. Amy Rose, let's start with you. If you had to make the argument why Terminator is the better character, what would you say?
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start off by saying I'm a little biased because T2 is in my favorite top 5 films of all time. Look at that picture. Look at that picture. Just his movement and the simplicity of everything about bringing this. I mean, this started this whole just iconic type of creature in creatures, not a creature, but in film history forever. I mean, what James Cameron and the whole team did, I mean, everything back, I'll be back, everything. That is probably the most overused line in everything. Like, he said he'll be back. I've done that in my articles like 3 times.
And he's gone on to say just about every one of his films since.
Yeah, and just his whole, like, when he was on screen, you couldn't take your eyes off of him. Even in his very minimal dialogue and the action sequences and everything, it was just utter perfection. This is the role for me. If you can't tell, I'm a little more enthused about this one, as great as Conan is as well. But he was just the epitome of the film badass. I mean, everything about it, his whole quest with John Connor and everything, Linda Hamilton, I mean, that kind of set the staple as well for femme fatales on the screen that are not these damsel in distress. So everything about these films to me were perfection, especially T2. But yeah, when he was on the screen, you couldn't take your eyes off him. And the special effects for that time to create him
were insane.
Unbelievable. So that is the Arnold role to me.
Like, for me, one of the interesting things about the Terminator role is that he isn't one character. You're actually looking at 3 different characters because he's different Terminators in every single one. And as such, we see different sides of the Terminator, right? We see the strictly robotic killing machine in the first one. In the second one, we see an unwilling reprogrammed hero in many ways. And you're right, the way he moves as Terminator is so great because he's supposed to be very stiff, not hard thing. Hey Arnold, act kind of stiff and whatever. No problem.
Yes.
But he moves very stiff, and yet,
problem.
like there's that one scene in Terminator 2 where he's riding on the motorcycle. And he's got to be stiff and robotic, but at the same time, while the whole body's stiff and robotic, but he does the whole spinning, recocking the shotgun, which is very elegant, and yet the whole rest of the body stays bang, bang.
So
really,
good.
really cool. Then he gets to drop his one-liners, right? So when the line "Hasta la vista, baby" is not funny, but hearing it coming from that guy,
hilarious.
it's hilarious. And so his interactions with John Connor, while trying to show hints of emotional awareness, while still not having any at the same time, I think people underestimate how many actors could have actually pulled that off the way Arnold did. And I think Arnold was uniquely positioned to do that role, right? Because it was kind of made for him in many ways. But I mean, it's just, now Arnold wasn't supposed to be the Terminator. He was supposed to be not John Connor. He was supposed to be Reese.
Kyle Reese, yeah.
He was supposed to be Kyle Reese in the first film, and they're like, no, let's make him the Terminator.
Good choice.
So and then history was made, right? And so just the fact that he embodied that so well and he defined what that character was, even though it wasn't the original one he was supposed to do, just incredible. I won't talk much about Terminator 3, but
Don't need
I think
to.
Michael Bain was very happy with that outcome.
yes, yeah, that actually gave him a career.
Yeah,
that gave him
exactly.
a career. So what do you think? Why would you make an argument for Terminator?
Terminator is one of my all-time favorite science fiction franchises. As far as the first one and the second one are just gold. I mean, they're like
Gold.
seeing them in the theater. If you've never seen Terminator, Terminator 2 in the theater, if you get a chance to do it, it's a cinematic experience. James Cameron like really literally cut his teeth on those franchises. You know, we would have never gotten the Amazing Aliens if he didn't get his chance to do Terminator and the Terminator 2. The character of the Terminator, you said it was built for Arnold. I mean, you could, like, though he was going to play Kyle Reese, him taking on that role and just, he's not a limited actor, but his accent's very thick. It's like him being able to play this robotic character, especially with his physique. It was a perfect casting, you know, and that he got the chance to explore another side of that same kind of character, like now you're the protector of this kid who's the future. In Terminator 2, I remember when I first heard about that, I was kind of irked. I was like, what, they're ruining the character, and then it actually works.
Yeah.
Because you got an even more villainous liquid metal weird dude that he has to fight, so you up the antes. You have, now this Terminator is somewhat antiquated because he's dealing with a liquid metal villain, you know?
Yeah.
So just that alone, I mean, you really can't get a better action film than Terminator 2, and a horror sci-fi with the Terminator. If you see the Terminator without any idea that there's a Terminator 2 or any sequels, and have no knowledge about Arnold as like a brand actor, and you just see that movie as for what it is, it's truly a horror film. Science fiction,
Oh, yeah, in
but
a lot
it's
of ways,
scary.
yeah.
It's like this creature cannot be stopped, and no one will believe you because I'm from the future. It's all the cool things that you imagine when you're like, what if a dude from the future showed up, or what if I'm Jesus Christ and I'm going to save humanity? It's all those things, and yet you have a robot Arnold chasing you. You know, that's pretty cool. That's not a nightmare. That could be a dream for some people. The movie itself, his performance as the Terminator is one of the high points of his career.
Oh, yeah.
You know, whether or not he beats the first Conan the Barbarian, we'll see.
Dennis, what would your argument be for Terminator?
Well, last week we had that debate of who would win in a fight, Gandalf versus Magneto. It was kind of debatable. Maybe Magneto, maybe Gandalf. This one's no question. The Terminator would kill Conan in like a minute or two. You know, with or without guns, he would destroy him. I mean, the Terminator is even though Conan is iconic, Terminator is a more iconic role for Arnold. I think more people know him in that role. They quote from him from that role. And Conan, they know him, but that was kind of like more like where they first saw him, and then Terminator kind of cemented him forever in like Hollywood history.
Forever.
And then, especially in Terminator 2, you did get to see a different side to him. I think with the first one, yeah, it was just the cold robot, and the second one, you see a little more, you know, asking John Connor, like, why do you cry? You know,
Why?
stuff.
Why?
So, and also the iconic action sequences. You had the cop shootout scene from the first Terminator, and then in Terminator 2, you had the motorcycle scene that you mentioned.
Great scene.
Oh, man, in the LA River with the truck coming down. It's just fantastic. So, yeah, Terminator is just, I think it's just so iconic.
There was that one scene in Terminator 2 when they're fighting, and why does 90% of Hollywood movies have their big final fight in an old abandoned steel factory?
But apparently they're everywhere.
Yeah, so they're having their fight in there, and they have that scene where the molten Terminator, who was later in X-Files, he's got the steel beam on the dolly, right? And he slams it into Arnold's head. And even though I know it's a robot, I'm like, oh, oh, like it's hitting him, and you're just kind of freaking out about that. Okay, so then, Dennis, we're going to start with you again and work our way down. And let's debate this a little bit too. But we'll start with you, Dennis. Out of the two, who are you going to go with and why?
If it was just Terminator 1 versus Conan the Barbarian, I think I would have gone with Conan. But because there was Terminator 2 and the iconic status that Arnold is associated with that character, I'm going to go with Terminator.
All right. Amy Rose?
Terminator, shocker. I mean, he made that character what it was, and it really did set the bar for sci-fi films and what was possible, and thoughts we've always had, and they brought it to the big screen in such a brilliant way, and his stiffness and all of that just worked perfectly for this character, and he's also very menacing, and I always think of the first scene where Linda Hamilton sees him in T2 as well, and he comes back, and she's like, and she like pauses, and no, wait, he's gonna help you, Mama. So he was so incredible. He was great as Conan, but it worked even better as Terminator. And you see sci-fi films continuously trying to take the magic of that character and just the way he moves and the magic. And we saw even a little bit in The Winter Soldier, just a little bit of that fierceness.
Yeah.
And I mean, it probably wasn't an intentional ripoff, but I mean, it worked because of just the way he commands that screen presence. So yeah.
There's something about entities and beings that are borderline soulless that create even more fear for us. But I think you're crazy. Conan! Conan! And this whole notion that Terminator would beat Conan in a fight.
Oh, come on!
Oh, yeah.
No!
Please.
With the secret of steel in his hand.
I'm
I
going to crush
spit on
that
your
sword.
skin.
I'm going to tell you how this fight will go.
I'm with him because fantasy versus science fiction.
No.
Go.
Okay,
I know
I'm
what
going
you're
to tell you
saying.
how this fight's going to go, right? In the first fight, Conan just sees a Terminator as an opponent. He goes in there, and Terminator, with his unbelievable power and strength, kills him. But as he's laying dying on the ground, and the little demons of hell come up to try to take Conan, the prayers of Crom go up, and then his friends come by and defeat. He comes back to life. He takes that sword, and he cuts the Terminator's head off and smites him. And here's the lamentations of the Terminator's women. Conan wins that fight.
Skynet, you crying before the power of the rhythm of steel.
Not even close.
Not even close.
He's gonna blow his head
Yeah.
off, and then
Dude,
when
see
he
the demons hell.
when he resurrects, he blows his head off again.
Yeah.
Hang on. Conan beat a wizard.
Yeah.
Conan beat a guy who could turn into a giant snake.
Yeah, I mean,
Conan,
let's not forget that.
Conan died and came back. Crom gave him back his life. The Terminator is a robot.
The Terminator
a
ate the
programmed
wizard.
creature that can be tricked, as we saw him get tricked in Terminator 1, crawling through a little thing and getting crushed. Sorry.
He's gonna oh man, he's gonna break his sword in half and shove it up.
Yeah.
Conan would set
You know where?
like, come at me, Terminator, shunk. He would have gotten trapped
way.
like the little robot
No
creature he
way.
is and thrown off a cliff
Then Conan
somewhere.
would put him in a bear hug and crush him. Okay,
Yeah.
And then he'd shoot through his body.
I love both of these characters, but obviously I'm going to go with Conan. What do you think? You kind of tipped your hand there.
I tipped the hand a little bit. I'm going with Conan. I'm going to discount Conan the Destroyer simply because this is a debate and I can do that.
That's okay, because we'll discount Terminator 3.
Yes, and Terminator 4. So,
Well, that's
which was
wasn't
an
even
different,
Arnold
yeah.
film, yeah.
right. So, I mean, another cool thing about both these films is they're both rated R. And so is the Terminator 2. We were mentioning this earlier, like rated R films, if done properly and great, you'll get people going to see them in droves because the R rating is just really literally like it's for adults. So, I mean, both of these films are definitely adult-based. Conan, the reason I think Conan, for Arnold, as far as his iconic character, it's the one that put him on the map. It's the one that he will forever be associated with. Yeah, he's going to be associated with Terminator. He's in the new Terminator again. He's
Yeah,
he's
got
been
Terminator
in like
Genesis coming up, yeah.
four Terminators. He was a CG Terminator in the fourth one. He's going to be in the fifth Terminator. Granted, I don't know if they'll ever make King Conan. I can dream, can't
He
I?
keeps saying they're gonna
that-
make it.
Yeah, I mean, they've had different people write it. Wachowskis have written it. Milius has written a version of King Conan. I just say, let's just make it. I mean, Mako prophecy. You know, he prophesizes like, "Let me tell you a story of the ancient world."
The crown on his heavy brow.
Yeah. I mean, we all want to see that. And when I say we all, I mean every single nerd that's ever been
He
born.
was coined the Governator. Just gonna say that.
Well,
So just gonna
that's a good
say
point,
that.
fair point. But really, guys, what we're saying up here is completely irrelevant. The real point here is, who do you think is the best Conan, or the best Conan? Who do you think?
The bias is coming out.
Who do you think is the best Arnold Schwarzenegger character, Conan or Terminator?
Terminator.
Look in the description of this video, and you'll see right near the top a link where you actually cast your vote, and we will announce the winner on next week's show. Next week's show is, who's the better modern action hero, The Rock or Jason Statham? So we'll make sure you help us for that next week. But for now, vote on that panel, or vote on that question that you see there. Click on it, go there, cast your vote, and have your voice be heard. For now, I want to thank the people joining me on this panel. First of all, Mr. John Schnepp.
The riddle of steel, you must vote for it. Crom! Crom will come after you if you don't vote for Conan.
You sound like my Portuguese neighbor. And sitting next to me over on this side, of course, is Amy Rose Eisenbach.
Thanks, guys. Terminator.
And, of course, beside her, Mr. Dennis Zen.
Team Terminator, you'll snap Conan's neck.
Once again, it's Schnepp and I against Dennis and the woman on the group. So I don't know. Maybe this is turning into a pattern. I don't know. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. My name's John Campia for AMC Versus. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC movie talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.